Welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive?
Hmm.
Today, we're tackling something I think we all grapple with: confidence and finding your voice.
It's so
It
true.
can be tough.
Really tough. And there's so much out there about it. But what we found in our research for this deep dive was, well, pretty fascinating. It really makes you think about goals in a whole new way.
Yeah, like it's not just about reaching that finish line. It's more about seeing all those little milestones, all those goals,
Yeah,
as markers along a much bigger journey, a path you're always growing on.
it's true. And this woman's story we found, oh, it's such a good example of that. She lands her dream job at, get this, MTV at 21.
21. Wow. That's
I
incredible.
know, right? But then just a year later, her contract ends.
Oh, wow. I can't imagine how that must have felt. It's like reaching the top of the mountain only to find out, whoops, wrong peak.
Exactly. But here's the thing. It would be so easy to see that as a failure, right? But what's incredible is how she reframed that experience. She didn't let it define her.
Yeah, I'm seeing a theme here. It's like, don't just focus on the destination. Enjoy the journey.
No, exactly. And that shift, it allowed her to actually find joy in the process, not just in achieving a specific outcome.
I love that. Because let's be honest, if we're constantly fixated on the end goal, we missed all that amazing stuff that happens along the way, all the little wins, the lessons learned, just the experience itself.
Absolutely. And her story is all about persistence, too, which is, I think, a huge part of confidence. After MTV, she didn't give up. She hustled hard, tried different media roles. You know what she even did? Showed up with paper resumes.
Wait, really? Paper resumes. In today's world, that's dedication.
It is. She really believed in herself and this idea of what she called proximity. Have you heard of that?
Proximity. I don't think so. Fill me in.
Okay, so it's this idea that even experiences that seem completely unrelated to your goals can actually bring you closer to them.
Hmm. Okay, so, like, let's say you're stuck in a job that's going nowhere, but you're dreaming of a career change. Instead of being miserable, you can try to see how, I don't know, maybe the communication skills or time management you're using could actually be valuable later on.
Exactly. It's about connecting those dots, seeing the bigger picture, and remembering you might hear no 50 times before you get that one yes. That changes everything.
So true. So keep knocking on those doors.
Keep knocking and visualize that open door while you're at it.
Speaking of visualization, there's this other amazing part of her story. She was unemployed at one point, feeling totally lost. So to get through it, she started visualizing herself on the Channel 4 Dubai presenter lineup, vividly picturing it.
Hold on. Are you telling me she actually ended up?
She did. Years later, she hosted The Breakfast Show on that very channel.
Whoa, that's powerful. Makes you wonder, what could we all achieve if we truly tapped into the power of our own imagination? Like, seriously.
Right. It makes you think, what are we visualizing for ourselves? And are we really believing in those possibilities? It's a good question. I mean, this woman, she achieves this incredible dream job, right?
Mm-hmm.
At Channel 4 Dubai. But then, get this, she decides to leave.
I know, right? Leaves the secure dream job to go out on her own. Takes guts.
Serious guts. But she talked about facing two fears: the fear of leaving that comfy job versus the fear of staying stuck, never reaching her full potential. So it's like, you have to pick your fear.
Exactly. She asked herself, which fear do I choose? And that helped her make a decision that felt right, that aligned with her real goals. What about you? What decisions are you wrestling with? And which fear are you choosing?
Wow, that's a really good question to think about. And, she talks about this other thing. It's about listening to your body. Like, she has this 5-second rule.
Oh, yeah, the 5-second rule. So it's about tuning into those gut feelings before your mind has a chance to jump in and overthink everything.
It's like hitting the pause button on your inner critic.
Yes,
Yeah.
before it can talk you out of anything. Have you ever noticed how your body reacts even before you've fully processed a situation?
Oh, totally. Like, my stomach does flips before a presentation, or I get sweaty palms meeting someone new. It's like my body's giving me a secret message.
Right. Those are your instincts trying to tell you something. And she even shares a story about how neck pain became a sign for her that she was super stressed and needed to reevaluate things.
It's so true. We often ignore those little signs our bodies give us, but they're trying to tell us something important.
They are. It's like they're guiding us towards a more authentic way of being. If we just listen, it's amazing, right? How much our bodies try to communicate with us. But let's switch gears for a sec. Another thing that really jumped out at us from the source material, it's about finding that sweet spot between being nice and being assertive. Something I think we all struggle with, right?
Oh, for sure. It's like, be strong, Be assertive, but also be kind, be compassionate. It's like, which one is it?
Right. Exactly. And especially for women, there's this pressure to be agreeable, which sometimes means not speaking up for yourself.
It's like this impossible balancing act.
It is. And the source material, the woman we're talking about, she gets into this. She used to think being assertive meant being mean, and that really held her back.
It's like she thought it had to be one or the other. Either you're a pushover or you're aggressive.
Exactly. But she realized there's this middle ground. You can be assertive and respectful at the same time.
So it's not about becoming some, totally different person, right? It's about finding that genuine way to express your needs without being a jerk about it.
Yes, exactly that. She had to, unlearn old habits and figure out a new way of communicating, one that felt true to her.
I'm curious, did she have any tips for how to do that? Because I think that's something a lot of people, me included, could use help with.
She did. One of the biggest things she emphasized was responding, not reacting. You know how you can get caught up in the heat of the moment and just blurt things out?
Oh, tell me about it. I've definitely been there.
Well, she learned to take a pause before speaking, to choose her words carefully.
That makes so much sense. It's like you're hitting the pause button on autopilot. Instead of just, firing back, you actually think about what you want to say.
Exactly. She called it treating your words like gold.
Oh, I love that. It really drives the point home. Words have power. They're valuable. We should use them carefully.
Yes. And that idea of pausing, it applies to more than just talking. She also talks about pausing to process your emotions. Instead of pushing away feelings of self-doubt, just sit with them for a minute.
That's hard, though. We're so used to, trying to distract ourselves from those uncomfortable feelings. But she's saying, lean into it.
She is. Those emotions, they're not the enemy. They're just part of being human. And the more you fight them, the stronger they get.
So it's like they're waves. If you try to resist, they knock you over. But if you just ride them out,
they pass. And shifting gears a bit, she had this really cool technique for boosting confidence and feeling better about yourself. Have you ever thought about keeping track of your accomplishments? Visually?
Like a scrapbook kind of thing.
Yeah. She had what she called a My Wins photo album. Whenever she was feeling down, she'd look through it, remind herself of all she'd done.
That's such a good idea.
Yeah.
Because it's so easy to forget about your wins when you're stuck in that negative self-talk loop.
Right. This way you have this physical reminder of your strengths. And if you're not a visual person, you can just keep a wins list. Jot down all your achievements, no matter how small they seem.
Oh, I actually do something like that. I have a wins spreadsheet. Every time I finish a project, learn a new skill, anything like that, I put it on there. It's really motivating to see it all laid out.
That's fantastic. It's all about finding a system that works for you, acknowledging your wins, celebrating them.
It's like giving yourself credit where credit is due.
Exactly. One last thing from this section that really stuck with me was her idea of loud confidence versus soft confidence. It's a really important distinction, I think.
What do you mean by that?
Well, so often we think being confident means being the loudest person in the room, But she challenges that idea. She says true confidence can be quiet, understated even.
So it's not about fitting into some mold. It's about finding your own way of expressing it, whatever that looks like for you.
Right. She describes herself as an introverted extrovert, which means she can be both outgoing and reserved, depending on the situation. And sometimes those loudest voices are actually masking a lot of insecurity.
It's like confidence isn't about what you show on the outside. It's about how you feel on the inside, knowing your worth regardless of what anyone else thinks.
Exactly. And she says some of her most confident moments are when she's embracing that quieter, more reflective side of herself.
It's a good reminder that confidence isn't a performance. It's a feeling, an inner state of being.
And that quiet, self-assured kind of confidence, it can be even more powerful than the loud kind.
So how do we tap into that? I think a lot of us, myself included, have been taught that we need to be loud to be heard,
It's about unlearning those old lessons and embracing a new definition of confidence. One that works for you. One where your voice, even if it's a whisper, is worth listening to.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's about trusting that inner voice, that it has something to say no matter how quiet it might be.
It is. And I think that's something I'm taking away from all this, too, that confidence isn't something you achieve, and then you're done. It's a process, a journey.
Oh, totally. It's about peeling back those layers, all the stuff we've picked up along the way, like those external influences that kind of drown out our own voice.
It's so true. It's like You have to rediscover yourself, unearth that authentic self that's been there all along.
Yeah, like an archaeological dig or something.
Yeah.
And you have to be willing to challenge, like, everything you thought you knew about yourself, all those beliefs that might be holding you back.
Right. It's choosing courage over comfort, even when it's scary.
Because growth doesn't happen in your comfort zone, right? And speaking of growth, we got to remember to celebrate those wins along the way, big or small. It's so easy to get caught up in the hustle and forget to pat yourself on the back.
Oh, I know. We're always on to the next thing. But those little celebrations, they can really fuel your confidence. They remind you that you're capable of achieving great things.
So for everyone listening, remember, true confidence isn't about being the loudest one in the room. It's about being true to yourself, even if your voice is quiet.
Explore your own voice, uncover those layers, and trust that you have something unique and valuable to offer the world.
That's it for our Deep Dive today. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time for another insightful exploration.